Hi, everybody. Hello. Here live with Wednesdays with Widget. How's everybody doing today?
Good, Patty. How are you?
I am short and sassy and glad it's Wednesday. Thanks for asking.
Patty, your class yesterday was amazing.
Was it?
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad that that's working for you guys and you're getting beneficial information out of it. So thank you guys, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I got a funny story for you since I only have 9 of you in here and you guys are all my friends now. I got off the phone with a lady and she's like, I need your help. I used to know your managing attorney really well. He's not your managing attorney anymore. She's name dropping all these names. I could care less. I'm going to help her, right? So I go through all this stuff and she goes, okay, thank you for helping me. You've been so helpful. I'm going to make you famous. I just laughed at her. Okay. I thought it was cute. I'm going to make you famous. Sure you are. So we got some changes going on, you guys. Not for you, but for people that follow me every week, you guys are going to be like, Patty, this isn't something new. I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands that you must, M-U-S-T, must. If you are governed by the LA County Consumer and Business Affairs with an unincorporated city in LA County, you must register your unit by the last day of this month, okay? I have no doubt that in the future, they're not talking about doing this right now, but come on, apples and apples, right? In LA City, under their moratoriums and their strict rules, if you want to serve a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit, you must serve a copy of your registration with the city with the notice. Otherwise, the notice is invalid. I have no doubt that the county unincorporated cities are now governed by the same company. So I have no doubt that they will also try to enact if you're not signed up, you can't serve a 3-day. So anybody in unincorporated cities in LA County, you must register your units by the last day of this month. There is no getting around it. Arlene's adding something. Also, rent increase needs a certificate for LARSO. Correct. So anytime you do something in LARSO, LARSO as they call it, you have to have your certificate accompanying the notice, accompanying the document, okay? I have no doubt because it's ran by the same group of individuals, if you will, it's still run by RSO, okay? It's just LA County RSO. So I have no doubt they're going to implement that into the system in the future. There's no talk of it right now, but just wait, okay? Just wait. How about San Diego City? Is registration required? I would have to check with the city of San Diego. At this point, they are 2 separate entities and not dealing with this. The city of San Diego is quickly turning into the city of Los Angeles with all the tenant protections and restrictions against landlords and things of that nature. It's simply a matter of demographics. LA is a metropolis. So is San Diego. They are heavily inundated with tenant populations in those areas, hence heavy tenant protections. I hope this makes sense. And the next time you buy a house as a rental, you may want it in Siberia. I'm being funny. But what I mean by that is maybe you don't want it in a metropolis so that you're not restricted, such as LA County and San Diego cities are restricted. And even during the pandemic, San Diego County was on their own little lockdown episode where they couldn't do anything. So it's been quite challenging. I will say this, there are no further protections starting January 1. So January 2, LA County has no more COVID protections. They can't self-certify that they were affected by COVID and they don't have to pay their rent. They can't do any of that, okay? So there's light at the end of the tunnel. The fat lady is going to sing on December 31st. Okay, now I see more questions coming in. Are lawsuits moving through courts? Yes, they are, with a few hiccups. Barstow Courthouse, that does all of the high desert. Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley, Barstow, that area is all run out of the Barstow Courthouse. They are at a 45-day delay at Hello. And in Orange County, their courts are behind about 60 days. Okay, so out of everything that's going on in the court system, those are my two big delays. Orange County courts are running about 60 days behind, and Barstow is 45 days behind at Hello to get a case number. Everybody else seems to be pretty much on regular schedule, we don't see any huge delays in areas. Orange County Sheriff is 6 weeks behind. 6 weeks behind. I think that's what they told me yesterday. I wrote it down. Orange County Sheriff, 6 weeks behind. Yeah. Ouch. For the incorporated city of Huntington Park, the tenant owes 5 months of COVID rent, May through September. He owes October and November of 21 and rent through June. I see that he paid April and May. God love him. What city are you in? It's up to you if you want to try to get into evictions. He didn't self-certify. He didn't self-certify, so he didn't tell you he couldn't pay the rent. So if it were me, let me think about this for a hot minute. How much is his rent? $11.40. I'd start now. And I'd keep it very simple. I'd just go after like June, July, and August, or August, September, and October. Do you know what I mean? I just do it for the most current 3 months, and I'd start it right now because it's a process in LA. You're looking anywhere from 3 to 5 months uncontested. So you might as well start the process now and just hope he sticks on the uncontested side of things. But yeah, I'd start now. That's enough for me. I'd go. I counted that in different ways, just so you guys know. I asked how much the rent was because it kind of told me how much behind he is. Okay, so if I just looked at that like $1,000 a month and counted the 7 months that you told me from 2021 plus what we're dealing with in 2022, it tells me that this person owes you just about $15,000. Am I close on the number? Between 15? Oh, damn, Patty's pretty good. Okay, so he owes me $15,000 going forward, and this is how I figure that out. I'm looking at October, November, December, so 3 more months. So let's add that up, and now we're at 16,000. I want to start the process now and try to get him out as close to January 1st as possible. See how that worked? But yeah, I'd start that one now. And it's just the way my brain works, you guys. There's different questions, different things. People throw different things at me, and I base my thought process and my analogy on how much this would cost me in time, how much this would cost me in money, and in what jurisdiction am I up against. So I take those 3 things into consideration: time, money, and the jurisdiction, and how the courts are reacting. So I would start that one now. I know my brain works weird. People think I'm a wackadoo. Val can vouch for me. I'm a wackadoo. I come up with some pretty interesting things. When filling out a rental verification card, can I fill out the portion that states care of rental unit? They're asking you how they cared for the rental unit. Is that correct? Watch yourself. Watch yourself. Is that considered a personal opinion?
Patty, so we are ending management with this particular tenant because he is a hoarder due to the condition.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. I thought you said pack rat.
Yeah, I did. That's what I said. So
Just so everybody else knows, we don't call them hoarders because we are not medical doctors. Hoarding is a medical disability and needs to be diagnosed by a professional. We are not a professional in that industry. So for us, we call them pack rats so that we're not trying to diagnose, just so everybody knows what all that was about in like 2.2 seconds of quick talking. Okay, go ahead. He's a pack rat.
yes, so due to the condition of the rental property, we are ending management, and his rental verification card, they would like to know care of rental units. Am I legally allowed? What do I write there?
You are legally allowed, but this is how I would write that. I'm sorry, this constitutes a personal opinion and my corporation doesn't allow us to disclose our personal opinions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. See what you guys mean about how you can call me and just ask me, hey, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of that? I'm here. I got it all right here, you guys. So if you need me, call me and ask me. I am very forthcoming on giving out information and helping you guys so that you can excel and be successful and avoid the trials and tribulations that I've been through because they're not fun. They are not fun. All right, just so everybody knows and remembers, last day of this month is how long you have to register your units in LA County in the unincorporated cities. And don't get me going on that because that's a nightmare in itself. Okay. If security dispo is 2 months rent, sorry. If security deposit, I'm Arlene. I read DEPO as dispo, my bad, okay? If security deposit is 2 months of rent, does that include the pet fee? Example, Arlene, I'll try it a different way. The state of California has a law on how much can be collected in a security deposit. Total collected in a security deposit, pay attention. If the applicant or resident is in active duty military, you may only collect 1 times the amount of the rent for a fully furnished unit. If they are active military, you can only take 1 times the rent as a deposit and not a penny more. For a vacant property, you can do 2 times the rent on a unfurnished property and 3 times the rent on a fully furnished property. There are no further exceptions. So if you're asking for a security deposit of $2,000 and the rent's $1,000, okay? And then they want to bring in a pet and you want to add a pet fee or a pet deposit? No, your maximum deposit has already been collected, okay? So it's 2 times the rent on a vacant home, 3 times the rent on a furnished home, 1 times the rent if they are active duty military. Okay, I hope you got that, Arlene. Geraldo, I was told to go after COVID-19 rent now in small claims court for rent falling between March 2020 to September 21, then go after ensuing rent next year. Does that sound right? It could, but in all reality, if they're not paying you now, what are you getting a judgment for and a wage garnishment for? Understand? You can't get blood out of a turnip, and even if you get a small claims judgment against them, that doesn't get your rent paid and you back in your house. So I think I would be going after possession, not the money. Just saying. Can property manager reject a tenant for having history of suing property manager for not returning deposit? They sued 2 landlords back in 2007 and 2008. Outcome of cases not known. Can we reject for this? How come the outcome of the case is unknown? How come you just don't go look it up on the county court?
Confidential, say it's confidential.
Hi, Patty. Because we're just doing a Google search and that's the only information that we could find.
It's confidential.
It says confidential.
That concerns the hell out of me. What year was it done? 2007 and 2008?
2007, 2008, yeah.
It wasn't confidential back then.
Okay.
The eviction asking law wasn't passed until 2018 or 2017.
Yeah, the only thing we saw was one of the answers from one of the property managers was that they did everything correctly as far as itemized receipts, itemized accounting, but then the damages exceeded the deposit. So this happened with two different landlords. 1 year after each, the lease was 1 year, then they sued them. Then the next lease was 1 year, they sued them. And we had these tenants applying for one of our properties. So they pretty much meet all of our qualifications, except for we're trying to verify their past mortgage history for the last 2 years because they owned a home which is subject to is part of their Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So the last reported payment was May 2020.
Okay, well, here's something I can tell you guys about when you're learning about bankruptcy, okay?
Hmm.
If they have a bankruptcy and it's open, they can add people to it.
Okay, this one is, there's bankruptcy was discharged 2 years ago, which is our minimum requirements are, at least 2 years discharged. So they did send us a paperwork that's showing it was discharged.
Okay, perfect. My minimum requirement is 1 day away from discharge. Do you know why?
Why?
Because once that case is discharged, they can't file for bankruptcy again for 7 years.
For 7 years after that.
So for at least 6 years, I know they're gonna have to pay me the rent, not gonna be able to file BK.
Right.
So,
Yeah, our concern isn't the bankruptcy, it's their history of suing landlords for deposit issues. And my question too, can we evict for that reason? And the second question would be, due to COVID protection, can we ask them for their past 2 years of mortgage history or just the last year?
what happened during the COVID pandemic is if they were affected, they're protected. So we can't talk about what happened during the protected period, the transitional period, and whatever the other period of COVID was called, okay? So I understand your concerns. They filed bankruptcy. Has that affected their overall credit score yet?
No,
Their credit scores are in the high 600, low 700s. So they meet all of our qualifications, income, credit. We just don't want to rent to them, would choose not to rent to them because of the issues with the
Them suing the
landlords. And then I do want to, make sure that they paid their mortgage, at least for the last year.
I'm with you 110% spot on. I'd want to do a little bit more research on those two cases. They're as closed as you think they are.
Say that again. I didn't catch what you said.
They're
Sorry.
not closed as you think they are.
Okay. So they could still be pending. How would I get that information? I mean, other than going to the county or? No?
I know how I would get that information.
Oh, okay.
I would call Fast Eviction Service. I know I work there. Not my department. I'd ask to speak to Cheryl in collections.
Cheryl and collection.
Yep. And see if she can help you pinpoint this problem.
Okay. And if it's a pending case, then we can reject them for that?
It's not going to be pending. If it's small claims, it's already been heard. And it
Okay.
sounds like disposition of security deposit dispute.
So what are we looking for when we talk to Cheryl?
How was it resolved? What was that ending
Outcome?
case?
Okay, so if
Who
the,
won? By how much?
okay, so if the landlord one versus the tenant one, what does that mean as far as?
Well, it kind of gives you a bearing of they're gonna fight back if they're charged for things. But we can look at a disposition of security deposit or the dollar amounts in the court. And if you're arguing over $8,000, I'm gonna assume they destroyed the unit.
oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think the original deposit on the one of them was 2,500 and then the charges were 3,600 according to the answer that the property
Right.
manager.
And you gotta take a lot of moving pieces into account. How much was their rent? And did that cover 1 month's rent when they vacated? Because I always try to do that as a tenant. I'm gonna tell on myself, okay? As a tenant, I've always used my last month's rent as the the security deposit, because I
Mhm.
know they're not going to give it to me anyway. And then I leave the house in really good, clean condition because I don't want to be a jerk to the landlord. So
Mhm,
they usually don't have to do anything. I even have the carpets cleaned.
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. With that being said, if it's comparable just to 1 month's rent, I don't worry too much about it because I know I would do that.
Yeah,
Sense? But if they're suing for 10 grand,
Yeah.
I'm done. Game
Yeah.
over.
it says
It
under
is
10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get where I'm coming from. I just asked her if she could use the powers that be to give you a little bit more information regarding that matter.
On the outcome and dollar amounts and things like that.
I'm trying real hard to not say too much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I know you guys all know I work at a law firm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We're also a full service collection agency.
Mhm.
We also have skip tracing capabilities.
Okay,
So they can run, but they can't hide. I can
Right.
find them. So
okay,
there's all kinds of things that we can look up as a law firm.
okay. And then as far as the other question, the COVID protected period, if the COVID protected period ended, what, September
21.
2021, can we ask them for mortgage
Rental
payment
history.
history from then until present? If it's outside of the protected period?
Yeah, but the reality is that they didn't pay their mortgage.
Right.
They lost their house to foreclosure.
That's
correct?
why I want to deny them based on that,
Because there's no rental
because they can't
history.
provide me rental history.
Okay, well, here comes my question. How much money's sitting in their bank account while they weren't paying their mortgage?
That I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think I'd ask for bank statements for the last 3 months, because that's
Okay.
going to tell you how they spend their money,
Okay.
Okay,
or if they have any.
Okay.
right, okay. Okay, because what they sent me was a spreadsheet of their payments,
Sure.
which doesn't,
They didn't
is not a
mean-
verifiable information to me. I mean, I want to see check stubs or bank statements. So,
I'd ask 3 months of bank statements.
Okay.
okay,
Tell you a lot.
Okay.
okay. So,
I hope it helps. And everybody else who's listening, I'm sorry. I know you guys are all out there too. I'm sorry. I don't.
okay, thank you, Patty.
No worries. Okay, what about, hold on, $200 deposit and then a $200 pet fee or cleaning fee versus deposit? Okay, a fee means it's non-refundable. A deposit means it's refundable. So anything that's refundable cannot be more than 2 times the amount of the rent on a vacant unit, 3 times the amount of the rent on a fully furnished unit. Okay? Deposit's refundable, fee is not. I hope that put it in a better perspective for you, Val. And I see, yes,
What is reasonable cleaning fee for a routine cleaning after the tenant left? Nothing major. What is maximum reasonable that you would recommend?
I'm gonna reach out on a limb here, so please pay attention because I'm gonna talk Patty talk, okay? If I, the landlord, do the repair myself, I can only charge $15 an hour. It's all the court will allow, no matter what I'm doing. Whether I'm scrubbing the carpet, scrubbing the toilet, or putting on a new roof at the tenant's expense, I can only charge $15 an hour for my time as the landlord. But if I hire someone, then the tenant's responsible for the entire amount of whatever that invoice is. Paying attention? So if I don't have to do the work and I can hire Joe to do it, and Joe gives me an invoice and puts his name, address, and telephone number on the invoice, and he charges me $200 or $500 to get that unit rent ready and cleaned, then I'm gonna pass that expense on to the tenant, and that's my receipt. If a landlord does the work themselves, they can only charge $15 an hour. It doesn't matter if you're scrubbing toilets or putting on a new roof or etching glass. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you only get $15 an hour, minimum wage. That's it. It's all the owner's worth. But you could hire a professional cleaning company and they charge you $500, and then you pass that $500 on to the tenant. You could hire your friend Joe, as long as he's willing to put his name and address on the invoice, and have him do the work and provide you with the invoice. There is no limit, okay? They could argue that they clean, blah, blah, blah. That becomes a decision for a judge to make in a court of law of who left it clean and who didn't, and who's responsible for those expenses and who didn't. I don't have that power. You don't have that power. All I can do is help you gear yourself up for success in a small claims battle. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Patty.
No worries, anytime. Val, sorry, my example above meant a deposit of 2,000, which is double the deposit, plus extra fees for pets. Plus in our house rules, we charge $150 a month for an extra person that moves in. Could I add a double deposit for the new person? You could add a higher security deposit for the additional person. The issue is you want to keep that rent up. Okay. And you're not in a position where you have rent control governing you, Val. So you have a little bit more teeth than the rest of us. Does anybody have anything else that's just bugging them like crazy and they want to talk about it? I do. For the rent increase or deposit increase, do we have to get tenant signature for approval? Or is it just information to the tenant? It's informational to the tenant. A 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. Tenant doesn't have to sign and agree to. Notice of violation of their lease contract with a curable breach of covenant. Tenant doesn't have to sign and agree to. A rent increase notice. Tenant does not have to sign and agree to. Where you need the tenant to sign and agree is at the lease signing at hello and any changes you make in LARSO. You as the landlord lost the power to state the rules and make the tenant responsible for them in LARSO. Everybody has to sign and agree or it doesn't work. That's the easiest way I could explain it to you for LARSO. And the reason I keep saying LARSO, and I got to retrain my brain because it's not just LARSO now, it's the county of Los Angeles that infected all of the unincorporated cities of LA County. So they are now also where all parties must sign and agree unless it's a violation notice, which would be a 3-day pay rent or quit or a curable breach or a rent increase, deposit increase notice. You change the rules on an addendum, tenant needs to sign and agree under LARSO. Don't get me started. I don't like it. So don't go after back rent. I don't get it. You can go after back rent. I want that money. He's been a leech for almost 3 years. Okay, I completely and totally agree. If he's been a leech for this long, it's time to hang him. So I would serve a 3-day notice for the last 3 months of rent. If he doesn't pay you in 3 days, tell him, sorry, I have no choice. I'm moving forward. And start going after these people. They can run, but they can't hide, but they can't just keep sitting there racking up bills. It isn't going to work. I mean, you guys all heard the government. There will be no extension of COVID protections after the end of this year. They have repealed phase 3 of the COVID protections. It's gone. They redacted it. Redacted. Do you know what that means? It means you pull the paper back and you take a big black marker and you block it all out. So it's been redacted. Phase 3 will not go forward. They're actually trying to hurry up and come up with a plan, God love them, to gear tenants up for the coming changes for the first of the year. So we may see them start being a little bit harder on tenants about non-payment. We may see them start to do some things to try to gear these tenants up. I was so frustrated and so angry when I read the final results that the pandemic would officially be ending LA County on December 31st and there would be no further extensions. I got really upset to one of the council members that said, oh, great, LA is just gonna have more homeless people now because of it. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. Your mentality was protect these tenants and let them sit in these houses without paying us landlords so that they won't make your streets homeless? Maybe you should close your borders, just saying. Just saying. Don't get me started. But I think your mentality about having homeless people on the streets is because landlords are going to finally evict them. We're losing our investments. We're losing our blood, our sweat, and our tears. We're looking down the face of a notice of trustee sale. We're getting foreclosed on because of your bureaucracy and bullshit. It's got to stop. It has to come to an end. So that one council member that sat up there and said, oh, are we just going to have a whole bunch more homeless people in our community now because of you landlords? I wanted to reach through my phone and go, you must be a tenant, huh? They knew, trust me, they knew that we were going to have a homeless population problem as soon as landlords got their teeth back. How do I know this? Because in January of 2022, on the 1st, the Department of Fair Housing made homelessness a protected class in the state of California. Why would they do that? Just saying, kind of makes sense, right? Because they know we're going to do that. As soon as we have the opportunity, we are going to go right after them because we're sick of getting burned. We've had enough. Hi, Hilda. Okay, I saw something funny on here. So don't go after back rent. I don't get it. I want that money. I know you need that money. And I'm not telling you I like, apparently there's someone out there that we should all take note of not to rent to. I'm kidding. I would go after them now. I would start the battle now. And I would only go back for 3 months of rent. And that's what you're talking about. I'm not telling you you can't get the 3 years of rent that's owed to you. I'm telling you to get possession in eviction court, it might be much easier with a least path of resistance if you go after a smaller rent amount and then sue them in small claims court for all the rent they owe you, because you do have that capability. Okay, remember that, you guys, you do have that capability. In incorporated city of LA County, okay, do I have to attach a register? No. If you're in an incorporated city of LA County, you do not have to register, period, unless your city requires that you can. Tenants have been saving money from working. If they can't pay rent now, then they can go to hell. Yes, they can, and I'll help drive the bus to take them there. I'm all for it. You guys have no idea what I've been through with COVID, and I've tried to keep a nice clean face and not tell you all of my problems with my own tenants, because I have them too, you guys. So in May 2022, I raised a little old lady's rent from $750 to $800. Okay. May of 2022, the CPI changes in April. So you could have done 10%. You could have done $75 and you did $50. Shh, okay, way under market rent. Then she begged us for a window AC, which cost $1,000, including installations. How can I pass off some of this expense I was not expecting? Increase her rent again? You can only get another $25, but I wouldn't have put in the AC, Val. You are way too generous, way too generous. Either that or I would have told her she had to pay for half of it because it's an upgrade to the property that you're not gonna get the benefits of, because all you're gonna be able to do is increase her rent 10%. It was my bleeding heart partner. I love you guys, Val. Let me just think about it for a minute. There's not going to be a lot you're going to be able to do. You're just going to have to do annual rent increases. Annual rent increases and bring those rents up. I anticipate it's going to happen. I don't know when, you guys. My crystal ball is broken. I actually have one. I kept it in property management as a joke. My tenants would come in and go, do you think I'll get evicted if I don't pay the rent? And I used to pull it out and go, well, you could ask my crystal ball, but I got a feeling you will be evicted. So just something fun I used to do with my tenants. So LA County evictions are moving along. Yes, in Orange County, we have a 60-day delay. The evictions seem to be delayed about 60 days. In the city of Barstow, and a lot of you guys go, why would we care about Barstow? Barstow does the whole high desert. Wrightwood, Victorville, Hesperia, Phelan, Apple Valley, okay? Lucerne Valley, all of that goes through the Barstow Courthouse. Barstow Courthouse has a 45-day delay at hello. So when you file the case, it can take up to 45 days to get the case number back. But that's the biggest delay that I see in Barstow. Like I said, Orange County is running about 60 days behind. Somebody's sheriff is running a ridiculous amount behind. I want to say it's 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Also Orange County. Orange County Sheriff is 6 weeks behind, I'm pretty sure. And I want to say there was another one, but I can't recall what sheriff was behind. Maybe I'll ask and they'll come running in here to tell me. Other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. We're coming up on October. And then for a lot of us, January 2nd is going to be a big, big day. Is it Kern County Sheriff, Hilda, that's 6 weeks behind or 8 weeks behind? It's some ridiculous amount. You're right. Yes, it is, Hilda. I love you. Mwah. Thank you. Kern County Sheriff is 10 to 12 weeks. Insane. So Val, you are in Kern County with the majority of your rental properties, if I recall correctly. You don't want to have to do any evictions right now. The sheriff is 12 weeks behind. Ouch. I know that you told us life of carpet is 5 years. What if the carpet is still in good shape after 7 years? But tenant wants to change it anyway. Life on carpet, according to the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs regarding lifespan on carpet from a tenant's perspective, 5 years on carpet, 7 years on upgraded carpet. And if the tenant wants new carpet and there's nothing wrong with the carpets there, that's a her problem, not a you problem. So why does she want new carpet? And I have lots of questions. Does it need to be stretched? Does it just need to be cleaned?
Yes, she just doesn't like the smell, and because she's had been doing Airbnbs and supposedly it smells, but I'm very sure the padding, everything else is fine. And it really not worn out at all. So it just wants to change it anyway.
Is she paying you top dollar for rent?
Yes.
Because she's making top dollar on the weekends, renting that out as an Airbnb. But no, if the carpet's clean and it's stretched and it doesn't have wear marks in it, then there's no reason for you to replace it. So what I would tell her is, unfortunately, I'm not going to be replacing the carpet just because you don't like the odor. You caused the odor. You lived there for the past 5 years, right? So at this point, if you'd like to upgrade the carpet, I'd be more than happy about talking about cutting the expenses with you.
Thank you, Patty.
This person isn't living in your home. They're using it as a business. They're making money off of you. You need to
Well,
think.
It's in LA County. There's nothing I can do about it.
But they want you to put in new carpet at your expense so they can continue to run their business.
I agree with you. She lives upstairs, downstairs, she's renting.
And I'm pretty sure You can't do unauthorized occupants, but you can most likely do an eviction for, hold on, I know you're in LA County and it came into my brain and then it left. So hold on a minute while I try to reel it back in. This one's a big fish and it's fighting hard. Hold on. It's not unauthorized occupants. She's running a business in a residential dwelling. That's a nuisance. Pretty sure your lease contract says you rented to her for residential purposes only. If she's running an Airbnb out of the unit, she's running a business out of the unit. It's a material breach of the contract and a reason for you to do an eviction.
Thank you, Patty.
Anytime. All right, does anybody have anything else? Okay, here we go. What if carpet is less than 5 years old and I have been professionally cleaning every 6 months, but they're big stains? When the tenant leaves, is that considered damage and they have to pay to replace? Absolutely, they're responsible for those stains. And if the carpet cleaner can't get those stains out of the carpet when they vacate, they could be responsible for replacement of the carpet. Had a property once. I won't go into a lot of detail over what the tenant did because the tenant was batshit crazy, okay? She terminated her tenancy in a 3-bedroom house to go rent a 2-bedroom house. The reason that she said that she needed to move is she needed to downsize because her daughter died of cancer and was no longer living with her. She sued me in small claims court because there were 72 juice stains on the carpet and it was brand new carpet when I moved her in. She only lived there for maybe 2.5 years. There were red stains. It's from a kid in a sippy cup, you know, with Kool-Aid. There's just red stains all over the house, the carpet. The carpet cleaner charged me $15 to pull out each one of those red stains. So there was a pretty extensive bill upon her move out. So she sued me in court. And as I was sitting there in the room and they called her case, our case name, and I raised my hand, yeah, I'm here. And they called her, she raised her hand, and they called her daughter's name, and I put my head down because I thought, oh, good God, why did you name your daughter? Your daughter passed away. She died of cancer. Why did you name her in this? You know, that's not cool. And the tenant turns to the judge and says, she's out in the hall with my grandchildren. Your daughter didn't die of cancer? It's not why you needed to move from one unit to another unit? You got bad juju, girl. You, no, bad. So yeah, I was being funny and I thought, yeah, her daughter's here in spirit. And then she piped up and said, she's out in the hall. So yes, I've had dead mothers come back to life several times. You know, can't pay my rent. My mom died. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I documented. Had a tenant whose mom died 7 times in like 8 years. It was crazy. My tenant runs a party planning business. She stores tables and chairs in the garage and under the stairs. She receives clients for consultations at the apartment. Is she running a business out of the unit? Well, let's talk about that. Sounds like she's using your facility for a commercial storage space and a storefront. If she's meeting clients there, I would say yes. She's meeting clients in your property, then that's acting as a storefront, you know, a brick and mortar. If she's storing stuff there, isn't that what commercial building's for? Shouldn't she be renting a commercial office space? She can always say the clients are friends and relatives until you produce her advertisement off the internet and use it against her. Do some research, find her online. Build your case. You found an Instagram, okay? And is that Instagram telling on her? And I'd look at Facebook as well. Instagram, Facebook, Craigslist. Yeah, she's running a business. It's not for friends and family if she's advertising on Instagram. Just saying. People don't realize that they shoot themselves in the foot when they start advertising their business that they're illegally running out of their house. Because come on, let's face it, she's avoiding paying taxes. She doesn't have a business license. She's claiming your rent as a loss of expenses. I mean, it's bad. I'd evict. I don't like people making money off of me. I don't like it. I'm not okay with it. That's my income investment property. It's not your investment property. It's my investment property. If there's going to be any ROI, it's going to be my ROI, not your ROI. So it can get tricky with people running businesses out of a home. I've had quite a few of them, and various things happen. I've gotten code enforcement violation letters for them parking their work vehicles in the driveway when it's not allowed. So there's been little things that have happened that have tipped me off that they're doing it. Because sometimes when you're managing a large book of business, you can't keep track of all of that, of who's running a business and who's not, and who's doing all this stuff. But when you work with a great team of people, they help you. Well, you're not alone. All right, you guys, does anybody need anything else? We don't seem to have a whole lot of stuff today. So Patty, I sent you an email. Can I call you at 6:30 tonight? Absolutely. Val, I skipped you. Did I skip over the top of you? Because I'm not very tall. There you are. I have a tenant that wants to pay half for new flooring, no carpet, and hoping to purchase the house. However, I know the house is way too small for his growing family. I haven't agreed to sell it to him yet, but I'm open to it. If this guy pays half the flooring and does not buy the house, I wonder if he'll want his money back. What should I put in writing? I'm going to have to wrap my head around that for more than I can answer in this webinar today. Because I understand what you're doing, but this is a separate agreement that's not part of the rental contract. This is an agreement where he agreed to pay for half the flooring because he wanted new flooring, not because it needed it. And I get that you may sell it to him later. Make sure you charge him an extra $10,000 on the purchase price to offset your troubles. Just saying. But yeah, give me a couple days. I'll think about that one and get back to you, because you're right. It needs to be put in a separate agreement, not on an addendum, so that it's not related to the rental. That would be my guess. Now, are you happy, Val? I answered your question. Do we have anybody else? Let me go see. He can't get his money back if he pays for you. If a tenant pays expenses, I've done it before. Why can't I not wrap my head around it? No, it's not coming to me. Sorry. I turned on the little beacon, but nothing came right away. It happens sometimes. It's okay, Val. I'll make it up to you. It'll wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll be like, oh, this is what you do and how you do it. Thanks, Val. 4 a.m. I'll make sure to call you. Sorry, you guys. Sometimes it's right there on the tip of my tongue. Sometimes it takes 24 hours to process. Sometimes not as long. So sometimes it can take a couple days, and then all of a sudden it wakes me up in the middle of the night. Ding! I'm like, oh yeah. See, I'm human, just like you guys. You guys have this happen to you too. I know you do. Nothing like that rental property waking you up at 3 a.m., right? Although you're funny. When do you become famous? Let us know the answers next week. I know there's a way to do it, then it's a real simple way to do it. And I know it has to do with a contractual agreement, not susceptible to the rental contract. So it's a different contractual agreement. And it has a name. It's not coming. It'll come later, I promise. Sometimes that happens. Takes a while to come through the filtration system up to the front. What can I say? I'm wondering if Hilda's still on here. Hilda, why can I not think of what we call that?
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah, it hasn't, right? We called it something. What is that called? It's got a name. There is a name.
Okay.
It'll wake me up at 3 a.m.
If I think of it, I'll text you later.
All right, you got it. Let's see, David. I just want to give you a big thank you because without you, we would have been in trouble. Oh, thank you. I try. Can't Geraldo serve a 3-day cure to get rid of the stored chairs? Kind of. He's in LA County and it's a little tricky right now with the moratorium that's in place. I wouldn't go after the chairs because listen to how that sounds. I'm giving you a 3-day cure or quit to get rid of chairs from your apartment. Tables and chairs from your apartment. Just doesn't sound right. I like the aspect better of you're running a business out of a residential dwelling and this isn't a commercial contract. So you can't do that here. You need to stop running your business out of my residential dwelling and get a brick and mortar. The contract is very vague. Also, my father gave them permission to store stuff under the stairs. My father passed away 3 years ago. I understand. Not a whole lot we can do about them storing stuff under the stairs. Is it the stairs in their unit or is it the common area stairs? Ah, bingo. Okay. So I know Dad gave you permission. I'm giving you 30 days. We're not going to allow that anymore. So you have 30 days to remove that from under the stairs. We can't have that happen anymore. Because we have to offer the same amount of storage for everyone, because here we have to treat everyone the same. We can't treat anyone any different or have anyone have any different rules than everyone else. So if I let you store stuff under the stairs, I have to allow everyone to store stuff under the stairs. So we're going back to the original written terms of our contract that say that common area is not for personal storage. I'd start going that route. I'm letting you know 30 days in advance, we have to stop the storage in the common areas. Everybody, I'm giving you 30 days to remove your items from there. That's what I would do. Give them a nice little 30-day notice, a change of terms of tenancy regarding storage of personal belongings in common areas is no longer allowed. They have stuff on the porch too, common area. I got you, but get them out of the common areas. No storage of personal belongings in common areas, period, end of report. That also means that they can't store their patio furniture outside. So if you have a big problem with patio furniture and people have an ugly patio furniture or just bizarre patio furniture, it's one of the ways to enforce that. Should he serve all tenants or just the one? All tenants, all of them. And then the one that he has the verbal or Dad had the verbal agreement with, I would let them know. But if I let you do it, I have to allow everyone to do it. So if it's a locking area, I have to give everyone a key. If there's 8 units here, we need to break this into 8 sections so everybody can store in here. It's just easier to say nobody can do it. I got you. There's 2 on the contract and 3 other tenants in the unit. Yeah, just tell them I'd send everyone in the building or in the area, the community, if you will, so that you're not discriminating, that there is no more storage of personal items in common areas. And then I tell them in advance, I'm giving you 30 days notice right now. You can't continue to store your stuff there. It's a fire hazard. It's an insurance issue. You want me to keep going, or am I giving you enough teeth? It's not fair to other residents because they don't have a place to store their stuff. Okay, I'll be quiet. I'm trying, man. I reach so far sometimes. And yes, you guys should feel great. You guys are getting your power back in LA. And I really did think that they were going to implement phase 3 and take us into June. I am so glad that the powers that be, the clouds opened, the lights started shining, whatever you want to call it. Somebody smacked them in the head with the frying pan. But it's like all of a sudden they understand, they get it. It makes sense to them. There is still a lawsuit going heavily with AGLA. Talked to Dan about it yesterday. They're not backing down. They're pushing even harder against the county and the city. Not for just, now they're not after repealing what's there. Now they're after how long this lasted, how long they allowed this bureaucracy to go on. AGLA's not happy camper about it. They are going after the city, the county, the mayor, the city, the county, the mayor, and I think they have a lawsuit against the state of California also. That's why they stopped the abuse, not because they had a moment of grace. Yes, that's why they are stopping the abuse on landlords, is because we've had enough and they're finally starting to hear us. I mean, you can only do so much for someone else. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink it, right? I think that the powers that be understood that tenants were abusing this privilege and not, they're capitalizing on it, and we're suffering because of it. So I think the powers that be finally saw the other side of the fence. You got to remember, they're inundated with 80% of the vote being against us, and they finally heard us. I'm glad they listened, because enough's enough. If it were me, I would say it comes to a stop on October 1st. But that's why I'm not in legislation, folks. Because I'd be like, oh no, stop that stuff. The 1st is coming, stop it then. And LA County did say that they were going to implement some kind of program or something to help prepare tenants for paying their rent and getting back to normal. What? Jesus. They're going to implement a program to help them do what? Be responsible for their own shit? I had an insurance claim. They paid for stuff plus 1 month of rent. It's been vacant more since. I just can't get enough help to get it rent ready. Can I get another few months out of the insurance claim, or do they say 30 days is plenty to get the work done? It's a bigger problem. If the work's done by somebody that, no, tell the insurance company you can't get the work done and you need more time. And this is going to take another month. They're going to want a statement from the contractor that was hired to do the work, stating that there's a delay in materials, whatever the issue is, and then get that over to your insurance company and ask them if they'll cover more rents. They should. Play nice though, okay? Is Fast Evict inundated with case I can't reach them? It depends. It depends. We're on the phone all day long. I take a new call every 7 to 10 minutes, no joke. And the staff here really tries to help answer the phones. And sometimes we get inundated, but remember, we don't just deal with landlords, we have a lot of tenants that call us. Hi, my landlord served me a notice. Okay, we can't help you. We represent the landlord. Well, no, I just have a question. I can't help you. We represent the landlord. You know, it's very frustrating because we do get our phones tied up with things that we shouldn't be on the phone with. You know, tenants call us, hey, my landlord's doing this. Can I do something to him? I'm sorry, we only help landlords, you know? So I say that a lot during the day, but it's frustrating because it does take up our phone time. But I'm gonna teach you a secret. If you need to get a hold of Fast Evict, because you need to know what's going on with your case, and it's during the week, and you know Patty is in the office, just call me on my Widget's Way line at 855-WIDGET-5, and I will look it up. Because I always answer my cell phone. A lot of you guys know, because you've called me, and if I'm at the office, I'll just tell you, I have one in front of you, or I have two in front of you. Can you hold? And I'll just leave you sit there on mute until I get off the phone, and then I'll pick it up and I can run with it. But you always have that option. Please know that. If you want to check on your stuff at Fast Evict, you can always call me. The other thing that you can do to get a real fast response at Fast Evict is just send an email to intake looking for a case update. Yes, 855-WIDGET-5. That is my 800 number for Widget's Way. And if I happen to be sitting at Fast Evict, I would be more than happy to look up your case and go from there. You can also text me on that number of Widget's Way and give me the property address, and I can text you back what your status is. Has anyone heard of more rent relief? My tenant received 18 months, but he says there's another program. He's known for lying. There's no more money. There's no more funding available. A lot of these programs will tell you, yes, your application's been approved. Okay, but I haven't received payment. We're waiting for funding. There's no funds available, you guys. You remember like 6 months ago when they could either give more COVID money or help the Ukraine, and they chose to help the Ukraine? There's no more COVID funding, guys. There's not going to be any more. And these programs will tell you, yes, we're just waiting for more funding. Well, as soon as more funding is allocated, there's no more funding being allocated. COVID is done with, okay? LA just repealed its phase 3. It repealed it. It redacted it, okay? This is done and over with. There is no more funding available. And if there is funding, it's on a private level, meaning it is a city helping, or it is a church helping, or something along those lines. Because I'll tell you right now, housing is key is out of funding, and so is Live to Rise, blah, 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 blah. If you call them and say, I just wanted to check on my application status. Oh, it's approved, and it's waiting for funding. How long are you gonna wait for funding, folks? Because there's no money there, and they're not gonna put any more money there. COVID's gone. It disappeared like a fart in the wind. It's gone. But people are still getting sick, and we'll probably be getting sick for the next 20 years, right? Go figure. I wish I had the answer for that. I don't. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, there's no more funding available that I'm aware of unless it's done on a personal level, a very small level. In other words, my little community church is going to help me, and you call them, and sure enough, they're helping. Okay. But it's not on a big government level. Those funds are gone. It's not on a state level. Those funds are gone. And for the most part, the county's funds to help with COVID rents are gone. I don't know of anyone that still has funding available unless it's on a private level. And then I get this question a lot at the law firm, so I'm going to share it with you folks. I get, hey, so my tenant just gave me paperwork showing that their application was approved. Can I start an eviction, or do I still have to wait? There's no more funding. I don't care if they approved it yesterday. There's no more funding. You are and let me say it a different way. You are no longer required to participate in a program for rental assistance in order to do an eviction. I
Patty,
miss,
I have tenants that are being held by FAP. What do you know about FAP? And I have not had bad experience with FAP, but I don't know much about them.
I've never heard of them. No joke. So it must be a private level that's offering funding. So the first thing that I would ask them is, do you have funding available now, or are you waiting for funding? If they're waiting for funding, how long you gonna wait with them? Because there's no more funding going on with that at all.
All right, thanks.
No worries. Not that I'm aware of. We're on to the new next best thing, right? What's it gonna be next? Monkeypox? I don't know. Just don't forget, you guys, please make sure if you have property in LA County and you're in the unincorporated city, that you do have to register by the last day of this month. Register rental properties by September 30th of 22 to avoid registration fees for the initial registration. All units, all rental units, mobile home spaces, and fees must be registered and paid by September 30th of each year. It's $30 for just cause only units and $90 for fully covered units, meaning they're at fault or no fault evictions. And then you have to re-register every year before September 30th. And then we'll see how it evolves. I'm 99.9% sure at some point you will have to show your registration certificate in order to serve a 3-day notice, do an eviction, raise the rents. Yeah. So very important that we're doing that in LA County. I got a feeling it's gonna bite us if we don't. If anybody has anything else, now would be a good time to, here we go. Do you think judge will let my tenant claim COVID at trial? Highly unlikely at this point. They're winding it down, not building it up. Judges are happy that it's ending. You could see the relief across the board in some of their faces, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and they'll stop these ridiculous shenanigans. I'm going to teach you guys something right now. So pay attention. It doesn't matter what county you're in. Tenants have a new tactic, and it's messing with our mental psyche, because for us as landlords, we expect that fight and them to file an answer in an eviction trial at hello. They get served, they file an answer, the fight is on. If they don't fight us at all, we get in our heads that we're gonna get the property back at lockout. It's gonna happen. And the thing that's going on right now is tenants are not filing answers. They're not doing anything. They're sitting quiet and they're waiting until the sheriff posts that 5-day GTFO notice on their door. You know, that 5-day get out notice the sheriff posts at the end of an eviction. They're waiting until they get that, and then they're going to the courthouse and filing a motion to I lost my word, to rescind the judgment, if you will, have the judgment rescinded and recall the writ and allow them 5 days or 10 days to file an answer. And instead of fighting us at hello, they're starting the fight at goodbye, which messes with us mentally. So please be aware of this new tactic from tenants. I can even tell you why they're doing it. It's because of supply and demand. The tenant advocate groups cannot keep up with the supply and demand. All of us landlords that are evicting, they can't keep up with all of us. So what they're telling the tenant is, just wait until the sheriff posts the 5-day notice on your door and call us then. So we're seeing quite a few cases starting the fight at goodbye instead of starting the fight at hello like they should. So it's becoming the new trend. If you're in an eviction and they're sitting there quietly, be prepared that this may be a tactic your tenant uses on you. Okay, it is happening in every county in Southern California. It is not specific to an area. Okay? So keep that in mind and know that it's just another new tactic for opposing counsel, is they're waiting until goodbye to fight us. Do you think the judge will let my tenant claim COVID at trial in LA County? No, I don't. They're supposed to be able to self-certify, but judges are getting sick of this shit themselves. And like I said, we just won to bring an end to the COVID pandemic. So in a heavily populated tenant area that's a metropolis, we won. So, I mean, it says a lot. I think the COVID is coming to an end. Will this tactic still be used in January when the eviction moratorium ends? I have no doubt it will be. I didn't know it was something you can do until somebody said, hey, this tenant just did that. And I'm like, they can do that? And the attorney explained to me, yeah, they can do that because of this reason, or they can do it because of this reason. All they do is say that they were never served. That's all they do. I want to say something, but I don't. Does that make sense? Okay, I was reading an article last night about the classified documents that Trump supposedly had. Okay. And Trump's attorneys are now saying, if he did do something wrong by declassifying these documents and bringing, show us the documents. What are you speaking of? They can't. They're highly classified. Produce the documents. They can't. They're highly classified. It's kind of like that. That's how I would describe them fighting us at goodbye instead of hello. It's just a technicality. That's all. That's all. It's just a technicality. And they're using it to their advantage. And I'm seeing it across the board. What wording should I use when raising the little old lady rent $25 because of the new AC? I would let her know that the maximum increase was not met. And you're doing a second increase in the same year so that you could bring it up to maximum because of expenses and overhead to the landlord. Can we now start asking for rental payment history when screening? Yes, you can, but you can't ask for anything that, well, you can ask, but don't, how do I want to say this? You as a landlord will get sued if you give information that happened during the COVID pandemic. So you can ask whatever you want to, but don't give any information out. I hope that helped you, James. The COVID pandemic, if they were protected, if they were affected, they're protected. So what I've been saying to people that inquire about what happened during COVID is, you know that we can't talk about that. And if they were affected, they were protected just like the rest of us. What else do you want to know? Yes, they were my tenant. Yes, they lived at this address. This is how much their rent was. Would I rent to them again? Only if they qualified. Those are the answers that you can give out easily without much headache. Were any late notices served? Don't talk about what happened during the COVID pandemic. Don't do it. It's blatant retaliation. And I honestly would, in the pandemic period, and be safe. Gosh, In LA, all the way until December 31st. Because they can still self-certify for the month of December of this year. So until December 31st, I wouldn't talk about anything from March 20th to December 31st of 2022 in LA County. No joke. It's not worth the risk. And then somebody asked me, you know, I have this tenant, I'm evicting them, they're a POS, and I don't mean proof of service, okay? Tenant's a POS, and I need them to get out of my house. I'm trying to lock them out, you know, I'm trying to get them out. And the tenant is a POS, and I don't mean proof of service. Usually means piece of POS, okay? The tenant is a POS. That's what I was saying. And now I lost my train of thought. Say that again. Don't mention which rent. I don't know. I lost myself completely. Completely gone. Out of the building. Gone. What? Does a rent increase go by 12 months or by the year? Yes. 12 months is a year. Example, rent increased in July can only be increased in the next July. You can only do the allotted amount once annually. Your allotted amount is $75. You only did $50. So now you can do an increase of $25 and still be in compliance with the law. Okay. You did a partial increase in the beginning of the year, and now towards the end of the year, you're going to do the rest of the increase. If you're going to raise in January, I'd just wait till January and go a full 10%. And each time you raise the rent, raise it the maximum. Don't try to be nice to these people. Okay, they live in your house. I get it. See, I manage property in a different perspective. Why the market's high and the rents are going through the roof and you're under market value and you're doing a rent increase and your tenant says, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay here because of that rent increase. That's when I start considering if I'm going to lower it or not. And I've been known to say things like, well, I encourage you to check the surrounding area for comparable rents. Because I'm still under market value, you just don't like my increase. So when tenants start playing the game of we're gonna move, okay, I'll let the landlord know. Did you want to give me a 30-day notice today? And then there's times where they said, I just really can't afford this increase, Patty. And if they do it, I'm gonna have no choice but to move out. And if I have to, I'm gonna move in with family. Then I may go back to the landlord and say, look, we were raising the rent 125. Can we try just $100 and see if I can get her to stay? She won't stay for $100. You want me to see if she'll stay for a $75 increase? Or at that point, do you want to cut her loose and let her go? You pick. So you have some wiggle room there. The market is not going to keep going in the direction it is going. We are going to have to lower rents to keep people in place. You watch. As you know, my big partner cares deeply for fixed income senior citizens. Yes, I know that. She does. I sent you an email regarding my earlier question about suing landlords. I'll call Cheryl today. Yeah, just tell her Widget asked me to call, okay? And if you guys need anything else, you guys know how to find me. Have a great week. I'm gonna get off of here because I know you guys gotta go back to work. Bye, you guys. Thank you for everything. I will see you next week. And at Agla's Trade Show on October 18th, I believe it is. Don't quote me to the date, but it's Agla's Trade Show in Pasadena. I will be there in the Agla booth. I'd love to see all of you then. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.